basic television. And it was our responsibility to make sure that the anchors' collars were right, the tie was right, suit jackets, everything. That was our job behind the camera. It's like, Eden, you're here. Do something about it. Strange. Of course, they all had their little mirrors, and they were all the time like because they would have them on the desk in front of them, underneath.
Welcome to Truth and Life Today with Congregation Adat Ariel, Jewish believers in Jesus and teachers of spiritual warfare. If you'd like to speak with us tonight, call 618 924 1851. And now, here's the lovely and talented producer Deb.
Well, it was about this time 5 years ago, I would say, that we were facing a question whether or not we were going to go on with this program. The November before, Rabbi Moshe, my husband Chuck, they'd both passed away. Rebitz and Martha was no longer living around here. So it's like, were we going to continue the Truth and Life broadcast? And I felt the Lord say, stay the course, which is daunting because, I mean, couldn't imagine when I joined in 2010 that I would someday try to continue Rabbi Moshe Lori's ministry. I'm nowhere near the same life experiences or have the same background or the same knowledge that he does. He had quite a unique life. But we both had the pursuit of the truth. And of course, that's why this program was named. He started this program on TCT. I don't remember the exact year. I do remember when he parted from TCT in 2009 and went to radio. And then, of course, like I said, I joined in 2010. But here we are in the configuration that we are now, 5 years later. And at the time, 5 years ago, I thought, my gosh, we're seeing so much end time prophetic. And now the end time prophetic setup is coming like a fire hose. But we are continuing. Didn't expect to be here. I mean, we've had quite, the attacks, whether it be physical or just even trying to find a way to continue this broadcast. The Lord has provided. And as our friend here always says, Lord willing, we'll continue to bring this to you in the years to come. But I sit here thinking back, on that moment 5 years ago, and then we are starting into another year around this time, and we will continue to do our best to bring you a biblical perspective of the headlines we see going on around us and around the world in the same tradition as established for this program by Rabbi Moshe Lori. I am producer Deb, and joining me at the table
for the first time in about a month.
Yes, we'll talk about that.
I'm Richard Peck, and I'm glad to be here.
Is your mic on?
I think so.
Yep.
All right. Sounds good. And over here behind the microphone, check and make sure everybody's okay. This is Jim. Once again, everyone, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to give us a call. It's 618-924-1851.
And we have floated it to a different platform. We do our best to get you now to Rumble, to Twitch, and to YouTube. And that is done on the Restream. Didn't used to be that way.
And I know you were asking, well, Jim, can't you hear him? Well, there's a bit of a delay between him speaking and what goes out on our monitor.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure, because since he hadn't been here for a while, making sure that in fact, I made sure my mic was on.
Yes.
So
yep.
while I was talking.
Yeah, if you're not here in a while, you might get out of practice.
Exactly. When I came out of the hospital, it's like, how do you do this again?
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
I get it. But
yes.
How you doing, Richard?
I've had a few incidents that happened since the last time I was here. I had an infected kidney stone, and they had to do emergency surgery on that, and that progressed into sepsis. So I've had to take a month-long antibiotic by PICC line. So it's been an arduous month, but I'm still here, still kicking, still above ground.
Amen.
And thank the Lord for that, and praise the Lord for everything he's done for me. So
Amen.
yeah.
Now, are you still carrying the kidney stone?
I still am, and
Oh.
I've got to go back in about 2 weeks, and they're going to do a lithotripsy on that.
Mm,
So that's the plan.
that's the plan.
Yeah.
So
And
keep Richard in the prayer, right?
yes, keep me in prayer. Got to go back, and they're going to exchange the stent that's in there to a new one, I guess. And so who knows? This might go on for another 3 or 4 or 5 months yet. So
You and Nancy and stents.
yeah, that's right. So
They have dueling different situations, but
yeah,
but
Sounds like a reality show to me.
yeah. You
Mm.
never know what's going to happen.
Richard,
from
Nancy,
day
and
to day.
Stents.
That's why the Lord tells us, say, Lord willing, we're going to do such and such
Mhm.
next week.
Right.
You
Mhm.
may not be here next week, and or there may be a whole bunch of complications between now and next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yep.
we praise the Lord for His the fact that He's always with us and that He loves us and He's always doing good things for us.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
yeah,
This week I was I had the Lord kind of just say to me that I needed to look again at Ezekiel 38 and 39 with an emphasis on Persia. Is what I
Persia.
felt him say. And there's some of the notes I was taking that
Awesome.
and I actually just got basically just through Ezekiel 38 somewhat. Why, you ask? Well, it's this
Well, what?
might have something to do with some of this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, baby.
This is if you can see this says US CENTCOM, I think it's EU or Eurocom, Indo-Pacific Com, air and naval assets. That's Africa. Well, I could do it this way. Africa, Iran's here, and these are all the things lined up because of it. And of course, below it shows all of a listing here, the general or the I'm sorry, Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, air assets from Eurocom, air assets from CENTCOM, naval assets, the Illustrated Tomahawk land attack missile loadout, and other Navy ships, military Sea Lift Command, and the U.S. Coast Guard cutters, all here, all represented on this map, all across the top of Africa, coming through up through. I'm assuming it's loading into the Mediterranean Sea. That's even all of the things going on in Europe. This is back here, all through around or surrounding Saudi Arabia, up through the Red Sea, and all of this through. It's quite something. It's quite something.
Yes.
It's there.
You could go between Africa and the Middle East and not get your feet wet.
Right. I mean, it's with all of the boats stacked up, right? This is a Iran monitoring report. The missile and nuclear reconstruction race. This is a very complicated map. And you have like Isfahan, Natanz, Parchin. Of course, that's all around Tehran. It's talking about missile bases. It's talking about China and Russia and what they're doing in all of this. So why do we want to center on Persia? Well, Persia is the ancient name for Iran, right?
That's right.
And this is what's in the headlines. And I mean, my goodness, they had over this past weekend, I didn't even know where it was going to happen, what all was going to happen. Thousands and thousands of people all over the world in these big, huge marches standing with the people of Iran. Barely a blip mentioned in the media. Now, a couple people can grab, free Palestine flags and run around New York City and they get the entire news media on them, right? But they had, I think they said in Canada, 200,000 people marching in solidarity with Iran, all through Europe, marching. What's his name? Pahlavi, the prince he was the son of the Shah of Iran. I mean, he was talking about all of the people that had joined, millions basically across the world that had joined in marches in support of Iran. Nobody hardly mentioned anything about it. So
in the United States news.
Yeah, in the United States news. It maybe was around different places, but
might have been in BBC or some other news source, but not the United States news media.
Right. And I was seeing Amir Tsarfati today talking about, everybody's like, well, when's this going to happen? Is it going to happen this weekend? It could happen. It could happen at any point. But I brought Mark Biltz's calendar. Now, Mark, the one he had this year, this is Understanding Biblical Times and Seasons and Calendar. This calendar does not run January, February, March. This is not. This is beginning. This is a basically Hebrew calendar, and he puts the Gregorian calendar underneath it. So we've just come through Rosh Chodesh Adar. We're into the month of Adar. That happened last night. And so what's interesting is Adar 7 is Moses' birthday and his death date.
Really?
That happened on Adar 7. And then he has also in here the first plague, turning the Nile to blood, happened on Adar 8. He's got all of these biblical events happening in here. But what you'll notice here on Adar 13 is the fast of Esther, and Adar 14 is Purim.
We have blood moon.
Yeah.
Look at the blood moon there.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I know that Amir Tsarfati had said, could it be that the rescue of the Jews will happen again on Purim?
There's a possibility.
There's a possibility.
It's very good possibility.
So I just wanted to bring that. This is
Since God is very methodical.
and
Yeah.
and he says here, and this, like I said, this is the Mark Biltz calendar, that Adar is the month of intercession, is what it's known as.
Well,
And it's represented by the tribe of Naphtali. I guess maybe on the breastplate it's amethyst. I don't know. Amethyst represents Naphtali, and he has the numbers 10:27. And over the host of the tribe of the children of Naphtali was Ahira, son of Enan. So interesting thing to ponder.
yeah, I just don't think he's going to leave the troops out there on ships that long, itching, for the word go.
Yeah.
The Olympics are over on the 22nd.
Right.
I think he's going to give maybe 2 days, 3 days for the athletes to get back to their home countries, and then it's on.
It could be.
That could be around the 25th of February.
Right.
So if I were going to predict, I say the 25th of February, because he doesn't want to leave them out there too long, because after a while you lose your edge. So
yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think that some of these ships are not there yet.
Right.
I think the Abraham Lincoln is, but I don't think the Gerald R. Ford is. Other concern is that while this is going on and all of this stuff is there, we only have submarines protecting Taiwan. Everything's been pulled from them. And there was a guy that I can't remember what he was on, his name's Rod D. Martin. They were interviewing him, and it slipped my mind where I saw him. And somehow I got this article. I'm not going to go into it tonight. I may look at it a little bit more for maybe next week. But his thing is that the biggest concern he believes right now for Trump is not so much Russia, not so much Iran. I mean, China. China is going gangbusters with their nuclear arms production, stockpiling, evidently.
Yeah.
And it says that. So I'm going to go through that, and like I said, I'm going to have to keep it on my phone. It's somehow I got to it behind a firewall. You have to really buy, I think, a subscription to him to get this. And somehow in my phone, I got it opened up. When it printed, it didn't print right. But anyway, that's something that we'll look into. Keep in mind that while all this is going on and all this is happening, nobody's really watching Taiwan.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And that could happen. Because the last time China actually invaded a country or started a war like that was Cambodia in 1979. And they went about 10, 12 miles into Cambodia. And they basically did it to teach Cambodia a lesson. They were coming across the border and doing this, that, and the other. And Chinese are like, you're going to stay on your side, and we're going to prove it. But if I think that if the U.S. goes into Iran, it's a distinct possibility Taiwan could get some bombs themselves.
Well, I think today, and it might have been yesterday, but I think it was today that Russia told the United States and Iran to calm things down. Yeah. So that's an
That's
interesting,
rich.
Yeah.
that's an interesting.
There would have been a picture of me laughing at Putin.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, you're the one to talk.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the reason to invade Taiwan at this point is the U.S. gets a lot of things from Taiwan.
Yeah. Specifically chips.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that it could be like,
Yeah.
Cambodia. We're going to teach the U.S. a lesson. Well, it might be a little more problematic with the U.S. a lesson than it was Cambodia.
Yeah. I would say the only reason I would think that China would not do that right now is because Trump is president.
Right.
It's a possibility.
Because of presidents that would actually strike back at them, he would be the most likely,
Oh,
right?
sure.
Yeah.
Whereas the other, I think that I think a lot of people in that realm, Russia, China, all of them are waiting out. They're waiting out Trump.
Right.
They want, it's like, we'll just kind of hang on here for 3 years or so and let this go aside. We're not really going to make too many moves right now, which would kind of lead everything up to that 2028, 2029 thing that we're,
Right.
kind of watching.
And we have that draft
there.
Rubio movement.
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't want to be president,
Poor
which
guy.
is the exact reason why he should
be president. Yeah. It says here the United States. Let me just do this from Breitbart. This is Joshua Klein. It says here the U.S. assembled the largest concentration of air power in the Middle East since the 2003 Iraq invasion, deploying 2 aircraft carriers, advanced stealth fighters, refueling tankers, and layered missile defenses into theater, as multiple U.S. and Israeli reports warn President Donald Trump could authorize strikes on Iran as soon as Saturday. As talks described by American officials are very far apart and even a near-nothing burger. Senior U.S. officials told CBS News that the military is prepared to launch strikes this weekend if ordered, with one official describing planning conversations as fluid but indicating forces are in place. Separate reporting by CNN and the New York Times likewise confirms strike options have been presented and that readiness timelines now point to the coming days. I know that somebody was saying that, I think, who was it, Poland? I don't know. The countries are telling anyone that's in
Poland
Iran.
just did that. Yeah.
Yeah, Poland just did. Say, get out.
Yeah.
Don't even know if you can get a flight out. Get out now. So, behind the scenes, Trump convened top national security advisors in the Situation Room on Wednesday, according to Reuters, as the Pentagon finalized positioning across the region. The scale of the buildup represents the most formidable U.S. military posture in the Middle East in over 20 years. The Wall Street Journal reported Wednesday night that Washington is assembling the greatest amount of air power in the region since the 2003 invasion of Iraq, including additional F-35 and F-22 stealth fighters, F-15s and F-16s, airborne command and control aircraft, and dozens of refueling tankers essential for a sustained campaign. A second carrier strike group led by the USS Gerald R. Ford is moving toward the Mediterranean to join the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is already operating in the broader region. Destroyers capable of intercepting ballistic missiles are accompanying both groups. According to flight tracking data and defense reporting from the war zone, additional fighter squadrons have flowed into bases in Jordan and Saudi Arabia, while aerial refueling bridges have been established through Europe to sustain operations. And it says here the New York Times noted that Patriot and THAAD missile defense systems, previously thin in theater, have now been reinforced to protect the roughly 30 to 40,000 U.S. troops stationed across the region. Officials told the Times the force package packages give Trump the option. I keep hearing myself talking, and it's like driving me nuts.
I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
it's like
sorry.
because to me, I mean, I'm used to being like with the person in my ear
Yeah.
because when
Yeah.
I worked in TV, I had a thing, and it makes me want to like, what are you? Okay, I can't quite hear what you're
I'm
saying.
sorry.
That's okay.
Folks, I got my phone in the background, and that's what I use to monitor the show. I didn't think it was loud enough for her to hear.
Yeah, I can hear
was
it.
wrong.
Well, it's like I'm hearing somebody talking back to me. Anyway, but it's weird. Oh, well. Officials told the Times the force package gives Trump the option of a sustained multi-day or even multi-week campaign, not merely a limited strike like last year's Midnight Hammer operation. You see, that's what I keep hearing, that they're not counting on this thing just being over and done. That when this goes, they're expecting it to last a little while.
Oh boy.
So the military surge
That
is
might be why the hook that's put in Russia's jaw
yeah,
That's
could
a
be,
possibility.
could be.
that brings them back.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi described Tuesday's indirect Geneva talks as producing agreement on a set of guiding principles, but a senior U.S. official told the Israeli media the session was a nothing burger. While another U.S. official said the tables remain very far apart. Well, they've said this. They've said that what they will and won't talk about.
Right.
They said, "Well, we're not going to talk about this, and we're not going to talk about that. Oh, we'll talk about this." It's like blah 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 blah.
Right.
And so it says here, President J.D. Vance said Tuesday that the president has set very clear red lines, adding that Iran has not yet shown willingness to actually acknowledge and work through them. No, they're just trying to buy time.
Yeah.
At issue is more than uranium enrichment. U.S. officials are pressing for constraints not only on Iran's nuclear activities, but also on its ballistic missile arsenal and regional proxy network, demands Tehran has signaled it will not entertain. Energy Secretary Chris Wright warned Wednesday that Iran acquiring nuclear weapons is entirely unacceptable, underscoring that Washington is prepared to act one way or another. I did think it's interesting that before, Donald Trump said, well, you've got a couple weeks or a couple months. Wasn't it a couple months? I think he said that Iran had, you got a couple months. And it's like, and then he was getting with Netanyahu and it's like, well, we're still in talks and blah. And then boom, the next day everything happened, which it was like a diversion thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
You don't know when he's going to hit. Yeah.
so this time I haven't heard him say any specification about time at all. I really haven't. He hasn't talked time.
Today. He did today.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he said next 10 to 15 days. That's the way he phrased it.
Yeah. So it might be tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, could be.
So,
yeah.
it says multiple outlets now point to a compressed timeline. CBS reported the military strikes could begin as soon as Saturday. CNN cited sources saying readiness could be achieved by the weekend. That's also Saturday. So, anyway, it says earlier this week, Iran fired live missiles during exercises in the Straits of Hormuz. Oh boy. So,
well, they're talking about totally blockading the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
If the United States attacks.
And so it says here that the USS Gerald Ford may be stationed off Israel's coast to protect from Iran retaliation. So that's why they're sending that. They're trying to get that. I don't know when it's going to be there, right? U.S. military units continue to arrive in the Middle East. It's expected the USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier is expected to enter the Mediterranean Sea later this week. Well, we are later this week.
Yep.
Right now, maybe Friday.
They said today it was a couple of days away yet, but
Yep. So
that would be Saturday. Yeah.
And so it says here the significant military buildup by the U.S., which also includes a fleet of aerial refueling tankers, has led to a wave of speculation in both news media and social media as analysts attempt to predict whether President Donald Trump will initiate military action against the Islamic Republic of Iran or whether he is merely attempting to use the force buildup as leverage in ongoing negotiations. It costs a whole lot of money to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's just kind of toying with things. It's so we shall see how this goes. But this is
I think they're going to they got to pay those people that are on those aircraft carriers regardless.
Right.
So
Right.
it doesn't matter where they're at.
No,
They're
no,
going to pay them.
it's kind of like D-Day when they were all cooped up in Britain,
Yeah.
off the coast of Britain, ready to hit France, and the weather wasn't cooperating,
Right.
and so Eisenhower's meeting with weather people, and it's like, when's the weather going to break? He says, not just the weather, it's light. He says there's not going to be another full moon for another month after tonight.
Right.
Plus you've got the rain. So he was like, so they just went ahead and did it, June 6th. And I think that Trump's not going to wait because of that, because by the time they had been there a week, I think, all these a million men on ships and they're waiting to hit Normandy.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a massive hit. This sounds like it's going to be a massive hit too.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. And
could be shock and all in Iran.
Right.
It could be. What was the other thing I was thinking about? That he's got to give his State of the Union speech.
Yes, that's coming up this
on
coming Tuesday.
So, and of course, I don't know what the Democrats were planning, because they were wanting to hold out and have this government closed, so they can, I guess, really stick it to him during the president of the union, president's State of the Union speech. What if he's at war? I don't know how much of that's going to really stick it to him.
Right.
It's like,
no,
no,
it's not gonna stick it to him at all.
Nope. So
he's not gonna care.
Then, of course, we said that the full moon is going to be on Purim, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is just right around the corner.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got new moon right now, I think, right? Or we're like, it's a waxing moon, but we're just past the new moon, so it's quite dark right now. This weekend, the moon would be. It's not the moon's not really going to be much.
The full moon was on March 3rd.
Full moon's on March 3rd.
Right.
That's Purim.
So.
Right after Purim.
Right after Purim. Okay.
So.
And February the 1st, Sunday, February the 1st was the full moon in February.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had 15 days to that, that's the 16th. So we're on the 19th right now. So it's just a few days after
the new moon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what we had Rosh Chodesh Adar the other night. So if you want to see that, I mean, they posted a teaching. It wasn't this year's teaching, but Mark Biltz did a teaching about Rosh Chodesh Adar, so which was very fascinating. But I like I said, this weekend's, I felt the Lord say, let's look at Ezekiel 38 and 39. I'm going to continue on looking at it because, like I said, I didn't even get to 39 yet. But I was looking through 3 sources: The Footsteps of the Messiah by Fruchtenbaum. I was looking at Exploring Ezekiel from Amir Tsarfati and Perry Stone's study Bible notes that he has had on this. And I have basically the outline from Fruchtenbaum's book, but then I added in a few things around it. Just to... Huh?
On Purim?
No, this is on Ezekiel 38 and 39. I was starting this because I thought, since we're going into this and, with an emphasis on Persia, just to see the setup, because is this the lead up to that?
Right.
That we'll see. But he has, of course, and like I said, I went through Fruchtenbaum's outline, writing what he had written down and then adding some notes around it. The Northern Alliance invasion of Israel. That's what Ezekiel 38-39 war is. So it's the Northern Alliance invasion of Israel. And so he had the alliance. Who is it? And of course, first that is named is Gog, the leader. And he was pointing out that it's like Pharaoh or Kaiser or Tsar. In Perry Stone's study Bible, he says he identifies Gog as a strong principality. Now, Fruchtenbaum kind of sees Gog as a person.
A person.
And it could be a combination thing. It could be a person that's being led by a strong principality. Why do we talk about the Gog? Because Gog comes back at the end of the 1,000-year reign of Messiah. Gog is mentioned again.
Right.
Well, that can't be the same person 1,000 years later,
Right.
right? So this is, so we were talking about this leader like Pharaoh Gog, and from the land of Magog, we have Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. Now, Fruchtenbaum thinks that it's modern day Russia is Rosh, and
Is Magog.
um,
Russia's
yeah,
Magog. Yeah.
yes, I mean it's the area between the Black and the Caspian Seas
Right.
of modern day Russia. Rosh is the word which means head, and what they were saying is a lot of the people today were saying, or the Bible prophecy people up to the day were saying, well, Rosh, it sounds like Russia, it's Russia. No, Rosh is a Hebrew word for the head. Okay. Could be Russia, but I looked up, I said, well, where did the word Russia come from?
Right.
And I just Googled it, ask the AI, whatever. It says here, because it talks about the uttermost parts of the north. The word Russia originates from the medieval state of Rus, or Kievan Rus, 9th century BC Varangians. And they are Swedish Vikings.
Really?
So that's where the Old Norse word Rus means rowers or seafarers. That's where the Russian name comes from. Swedish Vikings. That's where the original people of that area. But so the word Rosh or Rosh in the Bible is the Hebrew word for head. So the person who's heading up the group that's heading up this northern parts, that's where Rosh. Meshech and Tubal are the areas that are between the Black and the Caspian Seas. And of course, Perry Stone said that Rosh is not a reference to Russia. Could be. I mean, but it's not. It's vague. Magog is according to Perry Stone, is the southern part of Russia, once the Ottoman Turkish Empire, and it's majority Muslim. And from the art scrolls, Magog is identified as the Goths. This is what Fruchtenbaum said. Magog is identified as the Goths who destroyed the Scythians, and they settled in the Scythian territory, and they were a Germanic people.
Right.
So they're German, from that German region. So Magog, Genesis 10:2, is Noah's son Japheth, and I guess he's from the southwest area of Russia, the Caucasus region, the Caucasian region between the Black and Caspian Seas. So this is the area we're talking about. I was trying to get a good map of that, and I've yet to be able to get somebody to draw a good map of this Ezekiel 38, 39 countries. But we'll list them here. Persia, of course, number one in this, Iran. That's the first one listed. Now, Cush, Fruchtenbaum says Ethiopia, the Horn of Africa, Southern Nile Valley, including the Sudan. That is the Kush, what the area ancient was known as Kush.
The Southern Nile area, huh?
The Southern Nile area, including the Sudan. Put, that's interesting, Fruchtenbaum says is Somalia. Other places say Libya.
Yeah.
Interesting. Somalia. What have we been hearing about Somalia lately? And Gomer is Germania from Midrash Rabbah 37, present day Germany. And Perry Stone said 700 BC Cimmerians. It's spelled Cimmerians. Cimmerians. They were expelled from southern Turkey. So we got that all involved in this, right?
Turkey's involved.
Togarma Fruchtenbaum says is Armenia. Perry Stone says in Ezekiel's day, Togarma was called Cappadocia, which is modern day Turkey.
Right.
So Armenia, Turkey, they're close.
They're
But
very close to each other.
they're close. But so that I found was interesting. Persia, which is Iran, Kush, Ethiopia, or the whole Horn of Africa.
Well,
Sudan.
certainly.
Put Somalia.
Turkey is getting much more, not violent, but they're getting much more vocal about being against Israel.
Yep.
Yeah.
They. I just saw something not too long ago about all about Erdogan. Yes, I don't care for me, but
Yeah.
I was going to print something for.
Let me see if I can just put this on.
Yeah. But those are the areas of these nations that are talked about. Somebody pointed out that these are non Arab nations, right? They're non-Muslim nations.
The
There's some
non-Arab nations.
non-Arab nations
Right.
is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Non-Arab nations.
Right.
Right. It's interesting. Those terms, it gets a little. But anyway, then Fruchtenbaum says, well, what's the object of the invasion? And of course, he believes it's going to be Russia, where it's going to happen. That it's going to be Russia that's going to be invading in the mountains of Israel.
Right.
Okay. Interesting, right? And so Ezekiel 38:8 says, a land brought back from the sword, a land gathered out of many peoples, a land with mountains that have been a continual waste, a land brought forth out of the peoples. Now, why am I reading that? Ezekiel 38:8. Because it can only be the Israel of today.
Right.
Because at Ezekiel's time, Israel was not like that.
Right.
But now it is a land brought back from the sword.
Right.
It is now a land gathered out of many peoples, right? A land with mountains that have been a continual waste. A land brought forth out of the peoples, right? So Ezekiel was seeing into the future and seeing Israel that we know today that came back after 1948. So Gog's goal, his goal, the key reason is a matter of spoil. And I had noticed that there's two words in there, and I haven't had a chance to look up both of that as far as references. They talk about, you say, have you come to take a spoil? They also say, have you come to take a prey?
Right.
That's interesting. Prey is in there. So I'd like to, get that all kind of sorted out in the Hebrew, what's that actually says in there. But the public stated reason and the actual self-interest of the two things. Will the invaders state a public reason for coming, but have yet another ulterior motive? A different reason, right? And the nations that protest, Sheba and Dedan, that's in northern Arabia, and Tarshish. Everybody's talked about Tarshish, but I believe it says here that there are three possibilities, but due to other usage in Ezekiel. Okay, the way Ezekiel uses the term Tarshish at other places, he is referring to Spain. Tarshish is Spain.
Huh.
And it says founded by the city of Tyre. I found that interesting in reading through these. So God's goal in all this, what is this? What's God's goal in it? Not Gog, but God himself, that he might be sanctified in the eyes of the nations. That's his goal in this. All these nations are going to be brought together. And it says here that there's going to be the destruction of these invaders because the apple of God's eye is touched. This is, of course, Fruchtenbaum. The wife of God is violated, and God moves to destroy the invading army. And he's going to do it. Of course, it talks about the the hail and brimstone, all of that stuff. Well, it's not going to be armies that are going to be doing that. I mean, God Himself is going to do that. Great
Right.
earthquake. So you were going to say something?
Well, you were mentioning come to take a pray a while ago, and I was hoping you meant prey.
Yes, Prey.
In the context of the book of Ezekiel, the phrase come to take a prey means to steal, spoil, or plunder. It refers to an invading army's motivation of naked greed, looting, and rapacious acquisition of wealth. So they're coming to take a spoil.
Right.
hmm I just thought it was
Okay.
interesting that they use both words.
Right.
Are you
I-
coming to take a
yeah.
spoil? Or are you coming to take a prey?
Well, both. You're gonna take
And so-
slaves. You're gonna
Yeah, I mean, so I thought that's interesting because of what's being said there. Now, the other thing is that Amir Sarfati had said that Ezekiel 38 and Revelation 20 are not the same battle. A lot of times they want to, kind of
connect them.
connect them. And he said the first battle, this one in Ezekiel 38, primarily from the north and only a few nations.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that's involved in Ezekiel 38. That's quite possible right now.
Oh,
We're
it
maybe-
definitely
We
is.
may be seeing the setup right now for that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where he said Satan might be behind the scenes in Ezekiel. We talked about this up here of Gog, this leader. He may, but the implication is a strong principality. So Satan might be behind the scenes in this person with this, but he said, but he's out leading the front leading the whole thing in Revelation 20. He himself, Satan, is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference there. And he says the Ezekiel battle, Gog and his horde are buried to purify the land.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So it says here in Revelation 20 is the great white throne judgment in the new heaven, the new earth. Why would you be needing to bury bodies if the great white throne and the new heaven and the new earth is coming?
Right.
So this is definitely the Ezekiel battle. He's saying is not, it's not at the end, it's at the beginning. Now that's
Right.
his,
Who said that?
this is Amir
Oh, Amir. Yeah.
Amir Tsarfati, because you wouldn't need to bury Gog and his hordes
Well, that's logical.
to purify the land
Right.
if you were going to, so that would give another reason for saying that Ezekiel 38, 39 is going to be happening before. It's not going to be, because some have surmised, well, maybe it happens at the end of the 1,000 years, but that doesn't make sense
Mm.
in the whole thing. So this is just some of the things that I was going through and sketching. Here's an interesting thought, though. I mean, we're seeing all of this mention of Persia in this Ezekiel 38 and 39. If this isn't right now the Ezekiel 38, 39 battle that's happening, if this isn't happening right now, then what do we see in Ezekiel 38? That Iran, Persia, is still the enemy of Israel.
Right.
So that what's going on now, if we go to, shooting at them again, how much is it really going to change things?
Yeah. I mean,
We've got this humongous buildup sitting out here, and everybody's hoping for regime change, and everybody's hoping for,
I don't
the
think there's
Iranian.
going to be any regime change.
I don't either. I think it's
Yeah.
the whole goal here is to make sure they don't come up with a nuclear bomb.
Right.
I think that goal is true, and I mean the way they talk about all these facilities being fortified, and I mean they withstood a pretty good pounding the last time
They
that
did.
the U.S. hit them.
They said right now what they're seeing and noting is that they're strengthening these places that they're working on. See, they hit what was the one that they hit? Natanz really hard
Yeah.
the last time. But the ones that they're working on right now is Isfahan, is they're really working on to strengthen this because
Right.
they're worried about that one.
They probably moved
And-
everything there.
And then there's this Parchin that is also, so there are they're watching right now the movement that's going on, which is telling them exactly where things are, right? It's like some of the other stuff has just been left untouched, but when they see where they're moving and what they're moving, they're getting all kinds of data as to okay, where do we need to hit next?
Right.
Right. And it's not only that; it's not just going to be quality; it's going to be quantity. They have to go one on top of the other
Right.
to get these facilities done
Yeah.
because they're about a mile down. Some of them,
Long ways down.
yeah,
I don't know how far, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're fortified. I mean, if they've done with concrete, just like what they did at the rat holes of Gaza, I mean, can you imagine with the concrete,
oh sure,
you
Yeah.
know, it's like Hitler's bunkers that he built.
Yep.
They're still there. And they could still, could not be penetrated by bombs, what Hitler built.
Right.
So it's, but that was from another series that I watched, Hunting Hitler.
yeah.
Anyway, so
Which
you just-
became which I was doing some reading on that this week. I mean, the place where he supposedly was became more or less a tourist attraction. Hey, let's go check out Hitler.
Mhm.
And I'm surprised that it wasn't that the word hadn't gotten out all over the world about that.
Right.
That he was actually alive, the way people are talking. But
Yeah.
that's just-
It's questionable.
yeah.
It's still a question, and some are saying no, and this, and they definitely had his body, blah blah blah. Like, no, if they did, I mean, supposedly what was the body of Hitler was taken by Russia and done away with. Wasn't that the deal? I mean, it was bizarre.
There was no autopsy, so they think that it was.
There's no way to prove
they
it
think
was him.
Eva. Well, if Eva Braun was with him, but they were saying that it was that Hitler's body was actually the body of a 35-year-old woman. That's the rumor,
Hmm.
and that they just found her and replaced and just put her in the bunker, and he fled. So I don't know.
Don't know what's going on.
A lot of people in Argentina and Brazil think he was there. That's
Yep,
for sure.
they do. They really do. Yeah, this one young girl, she said, "Oh yes, I held his coat." She did.
Yeah.
She said she didn't know. I mean, so if you want to check it out, check out the Hunting Hitler
the
series.
Hunting Hitler. Yeah.
It's very it brings
What
up
channel
questions.
is that on? Or
You can just pull it up on your phone. This is a series that came out about 10 years ago.
it's on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It came out about 10 years ago, and they went step by step. They investigated, the steps that he took, the tracks that he made. There are places like subways and stuff where it was a passageway going here and there, and then he ended up getting there by submarine eventually.
yeah, that's
So,
what they're theorizing.
Yeah.
Well, the Catholic Church helped him do that.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the Catholic Church helped a lot of the Nazis do
Sure.
that. They changed their names and gave them new birth certificates and sent them down to
Gave him
South.
passports and the
Yeah.
whole bit. Yeah.
And that's where Rabbi wanted to go.
Yeah.
He wanted to go down there. That one guy did find, the one guy that was a member of Mossad did find
Adolf Eichmann.
Eichmann there. So if he made it, a lot of them made it, probably.
And the guy who found Eichmann, Rabbi knew well.
Mm-hmm.
He said,
Yep.
Really?
yeah,
Yep.
he worked with him in Mossad. I'll have to look up his name, but
Yeah, that he was
they found Adolf Eichmann down there.
Yep.
Yeah. I read that book. It was a very good book.
Yeah. So that's part of what inspired this Hunting Hitler series. They said there's all this stuff. We have all of these reports. They've been declassified. We know what went on down there. And I mean, I can't remember his name. One of the guys, he shows up every once in a while on Fox News. He was the one that they sent down there. He was like a Navy SEAL kind of guy. And they went through the jungles and found these things that were built there, these homes, obviously German homes.
Yeah.
They found the way they built fences. They built them like the Nazi concentration camp fences. They're still there.
It's Rafi Eichen and Peter Malkin.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, very, very interesting. Did they come to a conclusion on the series? No. The guy that did the series wanted to keep going, but just didn't have the money to do that anymore. But that was a quite an expensive ordeal to put together the series that they did. But other thing going on right now, of course, we've got all this going on with possible Ezekiel 38 setup going on. We also have that Trump chairs the first Board of Peace meeting in Gaza, and of course, this is this is the one thing that I said, oh, when I first heard about it, it's like this is changing everything.
Yep.
So anyway, they had that today. More than 40 countries, as well as the European Union, confirmed their attendance at the Thursday's inaugural session. So, U.S. President Donald Trump presided over the first Board of Peace meeting in Washington on Thursday morning, where officials gathered to discuss phase 2 of his Gaza plan. More than 40 countries, as well as the European Union, confirmed their attendance at Thursday's inaugural meeting. He effectively did away with the United Nations today. Essentially, now he's got his own United Nations,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so it says here that an unnamed senior official at the U.S. administration told the Associated Press ahead of the event about this, the 40 nations. However, more than a dozen, including Germany, Italy, Norway, and Switzerland, attended as observers as they declined Trump's invitation to join the Board of Peace. In addition to Trump, speakers at the summit included Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, Ambassador to the UN Mike Waltz, Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, he's popping up again, and the Board of Peace's High Representative for Gaza, Nikolay Mladenov. It's MLA. How do you say Mladenov? I don't know. Nikolay Mladenov. Updates are expected from the Gaza Executive Board, which functions as a link between the Board of Peace and the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza, INCAG. The transitional Palestinian body that Washington hopes will enter the Strip to replace Hamas's rule. The executive board will detail efforts to create a governing system services for Gaza. You know who wants to get in on this? You know who wants to be there? Turkey. They want their people in there doing this. Really?
Well, Erdogan wants to be the leader for the whole Middle East.
Yes. That's what Scott Netanyahu saying absolutely not.
Yeah.
And he also wants the United States to sell them stealth airplanes too.
Well,
Yeah.
Erdogan has had this vision for over 10 years now. I mean, Rabbi was around when we first heard about this.
Yeah.
So,
See, the executive board will detail efforts to create a governing system and services for Gaza. The anonymous U.S. official told the Associated Press Trump stated on Sunday that the board members pledged more than $5 billion toward the Gaza humanitarian and reconstruction efforts and have committed thousands of personnel to the International Stabilization Force and local police set to be deployed to the Strip under his peace plan. However, very importantly, Hamas terrorists must uphold their commitment to fully and immediately demilitarize, I think. He added several top Hamas leaders, including Khalid Mashal and Musa Abu Marzouk, have rejected key parts of the peace plan in recent weeks, including disarmament, despite having agreed to it in October of 2025. Of course, they say they never agreed to it. The disarmament of Hamas, they lie, they all lie, and all other Palestinian terrorist groups is a precondition for the reconstruction of Gaza. Mladenov said on February 13th, Gaza needs to be governed by a transitional authority as authorized by the Security Council Resolution 2803, under which it needs to take on the full civilian and security control of Gaza, Mladenov said, speaking during a panel discussion at the annual Munich Security Conference. If Gaza returns to war, there's no place for the Board of Peace. There's no place for any of us until we see what is left and potentially pick up the rubble at the end of it, the High Representative warned attendees. I did not get the article. I don't know if it was on All Israel News or which one it was, but somebody said they interviewed these families, these so-called Palestinians, right? They were just regular families. And to the T, all of them supported Hamas. So you have these so-called civilians,
Yeah.
and they were saying, I think it was Abiablo. I'll have to see if I'll have to look him up. To the T, every one of them, he said they are all Hamas. Every Palestinian, not just not just these guys with the
Right,
guns.
Right.
Every one of them. So that's a problem that we've got.
Well,
Hamas terrorists are again strengthening their hold over the Gaza Strip by placing loyalists in government roles, collecting taxes, and paying salaries, according to Israeli intelligence seen by Reuters on Thursday. The terrorist group is advancing steps on the ground meant to preserve its influence and grip in the Gaza Strip from the bottom up by means of integrating its supporters in government offices, security apparatuses, and local authorities, the Israeli Defense Forces said in a document presented to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu late last month. I'm sure he showed President Trump. Looking ahead, without Hamas disarmament and under the auspices of the Technocrat Committee, Hamas will succeed, in our view, to preserve influence and control in the Gaza Strip. Netanyahu's office and the IDF did not respond to Reuters' request for comment, but an anonymous Israeli government official dismissed the notion of any future role for the terrorists as twisted fantasy, saying that Hamas is finished as a governing authority in the Gaza Strip. Hamas named 5 district governors, all of them with links to its Izz ad-Din al-Qassam Brigade's military wing. 2 Palestinian sources told Reuters it has also placed operatives in Gaza's economy and interior ministries, which manage taxation and security, the sources said. Guess where they're all probably coming from? Qatar.
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Al-Sha'ath, chief commissioner of the INCAG, may have the key to the car, and he may even be allowed to drive, but it is a Hamas car, one of the locals told Reuters.
What is it, a Yugo?
Yeah. Asked about last month about Hamas's commitment to cede control to INCAG, Abu Marzouk told Qatar's Al Jazeera that nobody can enter Gaza without understandings with Hamas.
Oh, the Hamas car is the Ford Aspire because it wants to be something else.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yep. We laugh at them, but by golly, these guys have still got their foot in here. They're still running the show.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they do it through terrorist tactics.
Yes.
Well, sure. And the fact that, and Israel's letting them. I
Yep.
mean, Trump's letting them.
Yep.
So,
If Hamas doesn't agree to the administrative committee, it cannot enter the Gaza Strip, he said, claiming to have veto power over its members. We have no objection to the people coming in except for 2. The mediators, especially the Egyptian mediator, our brothers in Egypt, we stated this clearly. One was removed from the committee and the other was barred from crossing and will be replaced, the terrorists said. Last month, Reuters reported that Hamas was seeking to absorb approximately 10,000 of its terrorist operatives into this INCAG. So Hamas is trying to load this supposed military thing that's supposed to come and control Gaza.
Mhm.
They're trying to get all of their Hamas, 10,000 of them, in their police force that they claim is going to take over from Hamas. But but it's actually not going to take over from Hamas. They're trying to get Hamas in it.
mm.
The report, which cited 4 sources familiar with the matter, noted that many Hamas operatives have already been patrolling Gaza as the terrorist group is attempting to reassert its grip in areas not under IDF control. Hamas must demilitarize as they agreed to do when they accepted the 20-point plan, a U.S. State Department spokesperson told JNS at the time. The demilitarization of Hamas remains a central challenge. Why the heck haven't they wiped them off the planet?
Well, the only thing that's really going to work is if they take and just evacuate all of them out of there.
Right.
Yeah.
And give it back to Israel.
Yeah.
Or do what Deb says and wipe them off the planet. I mean, Trump already made that comment today that if they haven't disarmed yet, and if they don't, they're going to resume fighting Israel and
Yeah.
with backed by the U.S.
And
Right.
it's very interesting that God said the same thing several thousand years ago
Well,
to the Philistines. Just wipe them all out.
yeah.
Get rid of them all.
Yep.
Because they're all connected to the demonic and the
The spirit of
satanic.
Amalek, right?
Right. They're
That's what the problem is.
Yep.
And once they get involved with it, it's virtually impossible to get them out of it.
Right.
right.
And so
And
Which kind of answers Mark Biltz's question: is Amalek going to be destroyed this time around? My thinking is no.
No, probably not. God's going to have to do that.
Exactly.
Right.
right. U.S. President Donald Trump presided over this first.
Can I interject just one thing?
Sure.
I just got a notice here that from Fox. Well, just a minute here.
Have to put your
Yeah.
thing in there.
President Trump to open the files on aliens and UFOs.
Yeah, they've been talking a little bit
So,
about that
I
today.
thought that was interesting.
Yes.
I have an idea about that.
Yes.
How many?
All demons.
Yes.
How many Democrats are on that list?
Yeah. Right.
It's a demonic thing, folks. I investigated this thing 40, 50 years ago when I was a young kid. And I've talked to people that have actually seen these seen these UFOs. And I was big into UFOs until it finally dawned on me. They're satanic is what they are.
I think it's Chuck Schumer.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway.
Could be. But in relation to this Board of Peace meeting, the president said that they talked about the unresolved questions on the likelihood of war with Iran hanging over an event that included representatives from more than 45 nations. The president said that he would find out about Iran in about 10 days.
Yes.
That's what he said. We do have some work to do in Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. Regarding the future of Gaza, Trump said that he believed Hamas will be getting rid of their weapons. They said they're not afraid to die, but they are, he added. The war in Gaza is over. It's over, he had said, admitting that there are little flames. But Trump also said that it seems to him that Hamas will disarm. Hamas has been, I think they're going to give up their weapons, which is what they promised. He said, if they don't, it'll be, they'll be harshly met. Very harshly met, he says. They don't want. Trump said that various U.S. allies have contributed over $7 billion to relief efforts in Gaza, and that the U.S. would contribute around $10 billion. Ugh.
Wow.
In this little bitty chunk of land that, just
You're
wipe
going
them.
to make it into a wonderland. It's going
to be the Riviera. Yeah.
So he says Trump claims that the Board of Peace will oversee the United Nations. I told you he removed the United Nations in a day.
Yeah.
He went on to say that the Board of Peace will be looking over the United Nations, which he referred to as having great potential.
Yeah.
The Board of Peace is going to almost be looking over the United Nations and making sure it runs properly. He said, we're going to strengthen the United Nations. How about just move them out of the building and take over, right? We're going to make sure its facilities are good. They need help. They need help money wise. We're going to help them money wise, and we're going to make sure the United Nations is viable. He also made a point to note that he doesn't care about winning any awards for his efforts.
I've been around you too long, producer Deb. My thought was they'll just move them out of the building and move into it, and then it came out your mouth.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Yep. I don't care about Nobel Prizes. He said, I care about saving lives, addressing the various dignitaries in attendance. Trump called out Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jazeen Al Thani by name. He's saying he's a great man, highly respected. The U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio added that there is no plan B for Gaza other than President Donald Trump's peace effort, as the new body met for the first time in Washington to discuss ways to build on a fragile ceasefire that began in October. We have to get this right. There is no plan B for Gaza. Plan B is going back to war. No one here wants that. And then it says here, they're talking about what they discussed in the first meeting. The disarmament of Hamas terrorists, the size of the Reconstruction Fund, and the flow of humanitarian aid to the war-battered populace of Gaza are among the major questions likely to test the effectiveness of the board in the few weeks and months ahead. And Trump addressed the group at the Donald J. Trump U.S. Institute of Peace, a building in Washington.
We have a new Trump building?
Yeah.
Isn't this a beautiful building? I walked into it and I said, what a beautiful building this is.
Yeah. The president recently renamed it for himself and announced that participating nations have raised $5 billion for the Reconstruction Fund. The money, I don't know where the Donald J. Trump U.S. Institute of Peace is, which building he took over in Washington. I don't know. The money is expected to be a down payment on a fund that will likely need many more billions, including the $5 billion it is expected and an expected 1.2 billion from each of Washington's Gulf Arab allies, the United Arab Emirates and Kuwait, a U.S. official told Reuters.
It's probably the Kennedy Center.
Maybe.
That's the Trump Kennedy Center.
Well, not anymore. Now it's the Trump Institute.
Man. Let's see here. He said Trump's board of peace has been controversial, blah, blah, blah. U.S. senior official said that Trump will announce that several nations are planning to send thousands of troops to participate in the International Stabilization Force. But that's the force that Hamas is trying to get all its people into. Okay. So unless they do a real thorough job on vetting everyone who gets into that, that's going to be a problem. Hamas, fearful of Israeli reprisals, has been reluctant to hand over weaponry. And it says here, delegations from 47 countries, including the European Union, are expected to attend the event, of course. All kinds of people attended. Not everybody joined up from what we're understanding there. But then we have what Amir thinks about this. This is his weekly newsletter. And let's see. He's made it back home to Israel. He's been out and about. And he's got a another novel coming up called The Next War. And he says, you'll find me talking a lot about what the Bible says regarding the upcoming Ezekiel war, but in each of those methodologies, I'm only able to theoretically discuss the upcoming event when Russia, Turkey, Iran, and others approach Israel's borders with the intention of destroying the nation. So he writes these books that they're fiction books, but based on his knowledge of the setups and what's going on around there. Well, I say based on, of course, the Bible, but Amir is somehow involved with the military behind all of this. He has connections with people like Rabbi did. So he gets inside information on the stuff. I think I don't know, but he does. So that's why I tap into him. It's like, oh, you know things like Rabbi knows things. But he
Being
says
a former mayor of Jericho has its advantages.
Yes. So another Israeli soldier falls in Gaza. He says, before we move to the big picture of the Middle East, I want to remind you that the fight in Gaza is still not over. If you follow my Telegram channel, you will know that nearly every day I'm reporting on terrorists who exit their tunnels on nefarious business. The IDF is doing what it can to address the situation, but the task is enormous. They've destroyed 150 kilometers or about 100 miles of tunnels.
Oh, my goodness.
But that's less than a third of the 500 kilometers of the tunnels that originally existed.
Wow.
The work is difficult and dangerous. Yesterday morning, Sergeant.
How many? 150 kilometers? Is that what you just said?
They've destroyed 150 kilometers, which is about 100 miles, but that's less than the third of the original 500 kilometers of tunnels.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's
about
400 miles.
So 500 kilometers is roughly 300 and some odd miles.
Yeah.
60%.
Yeah.
So
0.62 miles is what it is.
Yeah. But anyway, it says here that early yesterday morning, Staff Sergeant Ofri Yaffa, 21, from the Jezreel Valley, was killed in an incident in Khan Yunis.
Yeah, 310.
So Hamas has refused to implement its original agreement to disarm. On Monday, the IDF located a significant cache of weapons used by the terrorists in the Rafah Brigade. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was committed to completing the job. With Hamas existing, Israel can never feel fully safe. This is contrary to the scenario laid out in Ezekiel 38 regarding the coming war. However, we do see this continuing conflict fitting into the overall prophetic scenario because more than anything else, the conflict with Gaza has set up Israel as the burdensome stone in the eyes of the world, as prophesied in Zechariah 12:3. And so he's talking about the brink of extended war. Over the past week, the U.S. has transported an enormous amount of firepower to the Middle East. The Air Force has sent AWACS, mid-air refueling tankers, B-52 Stratofortress bombers, and more than 50 fighter jets from all up and down the classification list. Naval assets include 2 carrier groups, between 7 to 9 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, a whole list of support ships, and if the rumor is accurate, the USS Georgia, a nuclear submarine armed with 154 Tomahawk missiles. President Donald Trump is not normally one to waste that much money on a bluff. This is what is causing the nerves in my region to be on edge. According to Axios, if the Iran nuclear talks fail, then the U.S. is moving closer to what could be an extended war. Currently, there is a major impasse in the talks between Iran and the U.S. In a Fox News interview, Vice President J.D. Vance said that the President Trump has set some red lines that the Iranians are not yet willing to acknowledge and work through. Said the Vice President, you can't have people like that have the most dangerous weapons known to man. The President's demands include the full cessation of uranium enrichment as well as significant limitations on the country's ballistic missile program. Prime Minister Netanyahu adds that to the list the removal of all enriched uranium from the country and the dismantling of the terrorist militias. Tehran is trying to stall. They are masters of negotiation, and they are trying a tactic of buying the president off while offering him a Pyrrhic victory. On the table is a cut of wealth that could be derived from Iran's oil and mineral resources. The Islamic regime would even be willing to forestall their nuclear program for 3 years until Trump was out of office, right? Mm-hmm. And it would become someone else's program. Obama signed on to that kick the can down the road agreement while he was president.
Yep.
Why wouldn't Trump, they think? So he could go down in history as a president of peace.
Bush did it too.
I don't believe Trump will buy into their shady deal. He's a smart man and can see through their lies and delays. For more of my analysis and reasons why I think Trump will back down, watch yesterday's Mideast and Beyond update I recorded with Pastor Barry Stagner. I think that's available on YouTube. So if you're interested in that, you can look up, I think isn't he Beyond Israel? I think his ministry is called Beyond Israel. Behold Israel. Behold Israel. Look that up on YouTube, and then you can probably see his Middle East updates. And he says, let me add one more thought about this whole ordeal. I don't believe this showdown is only in Tehran. It is a live demonstration. The massive military buildup serves a broader purpose than this single situation. While Iran may be the operational arena, China is the strategic audience. Beijing is watching all that is going on. It's assessing how fast the U.S. can amass power, how long it can sustain its deployments, how much pressure can their allies hold up under, and whether the American military has the ability to operate in multiple theaters simultaneously. Trump is establishing deterrence by demonstration. If Washington can project overwhelming force in the Middle East while maintaining Indo-Pacific readiness, it reinforces U.S. dominance in the 21st century, an American first goal of the type I'll talk about in the final news story below. Trump's message is not rhetorical, it is kinetic, and it's being delivered in real time. And then he says, in a move clearly designed to delineate sides within the Middle East tension, Russia will hold naval drills with Iran this week. An Iranian spokesman said the aim of the drills is to strengthen maritime security and to deepen relations between the navies of the two countries. So they're doing this week. In preparation for the exercises, the Russian helicopter carrier Stoiky docked in Bandar Abbas, Iran. Not only is this telling for those who, for those watching who is siding with whom in the Middle East, but it is another sign for those of us who follow Bible prophecy as we see the militaries of these two members of antagonist forces of the Ezekiel war draw closer to each other. Right? And then he goes off here to talk about surprising Saudi financial struggles. For years, it has seemed that the Saudis' oil wells have been pumping gold directly from the ground. Recent events, however, appear to show that the House of Saud may not be quite as flush as it has been in the past. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's flagship 2030 initiative aimed at reining in some of the exorbitant spending and reducing the country's oil dependency is facing serious economic pressures. With the fall of oil prices, delays in flagship projects, and growing gaps in necessary financing, Saudi Arabia is finding itself turning to Russia and Turkey for funding. Money does not come without strings, and it is very likely that pressure from Russia's President Putin and Turkey's President Erdogan is causing MBS to pull back from his move toward normalizing relations with Israel. So looks like it's, Saudis, backing off further and further from the Abraham Accords. India has approved an $8.6 to $8.7 billion arms purchase from Israel, making the Jewish state New Delhi's second largest military supplier after France. Among the weapon systems purchased are SPICE guided bombs, and that's, I guess, an acronym, SPICE. Air-to-surface missiles and other munitions. The deal is one more feather in the cap of Israel's economic strength and military reputation. And then he talks about the changing world order. Back in the 1980s, a think tank of globalists looked at history and determined that the average length of an empire's strength is 250 years. Guess what? We're 250 years old, right?
Yeah.
In those post-Reagan years, America was still strong economically and socially, but this power elite determined that the time was nearing when the era of America would end. In preparation, they backroomed a push in American and Western civilization to shift from state-based oversight to a globalist agenda. The beginning of the one world order, right?
Yep.
Manufacturing was outsourced to other countries. Borders were weakened, and the United Nations and NATO were given unprecedented power over autonomous states. But then Trump came along in 2016 and tried to turn things around. But the globalist influence on both sides of the aisles stymied his efforts. Then he was reelected in 2024. And at his inaugural speech in January of 2025, he made it clear that America's decline was over. Within all of the U.S.'s alliances, he would enforce America first. This was even true with Israel. On Monday, at the Munich Security Conference, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced to the entire world that there was a new era of American power. It is from this agenda that we see industry coming back to the U.S., the oil industry booming, new trade routes being established, and Greenland soon becoming a U.S. territory. This isn't just Trump being wild, foolhardy, or egotistical. It is him rebelling against the globalist rules and trying to halt the decline of America that their agenda induced. This is a major story that everyone needs to know about because it gives the framework from which President Trump is working. It also shows why opposition to him from both sides of the aisle is so strong. Once again, I would encourage you to watch yesterday's Mideast and Beyond, in which I explained the history of the globalist agenda in much more detail. So, and it looks like you might have found it. Huh?
Well, what I wanted to show people is that if you go to YouTube and type in "Behold Israel," you can click on that subject, and up will pop this "Behold Israel" with Amir Sephardi and this little blazing emblem here. If you click on add emblem, and then on video, all these things that Amir Sephardi has done and his comments on all those different subjects will pop up.
Yep. It's all there.
So that's how you get to it, folks.
Yep. Behold Israel with Amir Tsarfati. Very important what he brings to us
He's
information wise.
Good commentator.
Mm-hmm. I almost hate to waste time on this, but everybody's kind of mentioning it. Everybody's talking about it. Tucker Carlson is a problem.
He's a joke.
Yeah. So it says here, I've got two of these articles. One is from the Jerusalem Post. It says here Tucker Carlson visits Israel for a sit down with Huckabee. He wouldn't leave the airport.
Who wouldn't leave?
Tucker.
leave
Tucker
the
wouldn't
airport?
leave the airport. Yeah.
Says the interview came after a public back and forth between Carlson and Ambassador Huckabee and was conducted inside Ben Gurion Airport. And I think I'm trying to remember which one I should read first because one kind of feeds right into the other one. Anyway, I'll just read this one from the Jerusalem Post first. It says here conservative media personality Tucker Carlson visited Israel briefly on Wednesday for a filmed sit down with U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee, focused on claims about the treatment of Christians in Israel and the wider region, sources told the Jerusalem Post. According to the sources, Carlson conducted the conversation inside Ben Gurion Airport and did not travel beyond the airport complex. He departed Israel at about 3 p.m., ending a trip that lasted only a few hours. The unusual in and out visit followed a public back and forth between the two former Fox News hosts after Carlson published an episode in early February filmed at the Jordan River baptism site titled Christian Persecution. In the episode, Carlson interviewed Anglican Archbishop of Jerusalem Hossam Naum, a Jordanian Christian businessman, presenting a case that Israel mistreats its Christian population and that American Christians are unknowingly funding that mistreatment through U.S. aid. Huckabee responded on X on February 5th, writing, "Hey, at Tucker Carlson, instead of talking about me, why don't you come talk to me?" So Carlson publicly agreed to a face-to-face conversation. The sit down comes at a tense moment in American conservative politics where support for Israel has become a sharper internal argument than in past years. Carlson has increasingly positioned himself as a leading critic of U.S. policy toward Israel and of Christian Zionism, language that has drawn pushback from mainstream Republicans and pro-Israel conservatives. In fact, we will recall that Tucker Carlson said the people that he abhors the most are Christian Zionists.
Yeah.
So in the episode, Carlson claimed that Christians in Israel are far fewer in absolute numbers than when the state was founded in 1948. Data from Israel's Central Bureau of Statistics, most recently published on Christmas Eve 2025, shows the opposite. The Christian population in Israel has grown from approximately 34,000 in 1949 to around 185,000 today, representing one of the few growing Christian communities in the Middle East. Christians, as a share of Israel's total population, have declined from roughly 10% to under 2%, but that proportional drop reflects faster growth among Jewish and Muslim populations rather than a shrinking Christian one. Carlson also described the United States as funding the cultural and religious life of the region, a framing that conflates U.S. military assistance to Israel with a broader claim about religious life that he did not substantiate. Huckabee, a longtime evangelical leader and close political ally of President Donald Trump, has taken, he's the ambassador, right? Has taken the opposite approach. He was confirmed by the U.S. Senate as ambassador to Israel in 2025 and presented his credentials to President Isaac Herzog shortly afterward. The episode's portrayal of Huckabee went further than the claims made by Carlson's own interview subject. After the Archbishop described difficulties accessing an Anglican hospital in Gaza, Carlson told viewers that what Ambassador Huckabee is doing is shameful and he's going to have to answer for it. The Archbishop responded, "I don't want to blame Huckabee for this." No, Naum also described incidents of Jewish extremists spitting at Christian clergy in Jerusalem as the work of fringe groups and radicals, a characterization that sat at odds with the episode's broader framing. The original episode did not include any Israeli government response. Oh, but what about fair and balanced, Tucker?
Mhm.
Right? So this is the report out of the All Israel News. Okay, so it says here Tucker Carlson, the former Fox News anchor who has drawn flack for his ferocious anti Israel activism in recent months, added more controversy on Wednesday by claiming Israeli officials detained him before his departure, which the airport authority in the U.S. Embassy denied. So he's still stirring up stuff, even on his way out. Carlson spent only several hours on Israeli soil to interview U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee, whom he has often singled out for criticism. Media outlets reported that the conversation, which hasn't been released yet, focused on Carlson's false claims regarding the treatment of Christians in Israel, according to the Jerusalem Post. The visit followed a public exchange of verbal blows between Carlson and Huckabee after Carlson published an interview filmed in Jordan with Arab Christians titled Christian Persecution, and which has harshly criticized Israel's alleged maltreatment of Christians, as well as its ostensible defenders like Huckabee. Carlson refused to leave Ben Gurion Airport, conducting the interview on airport grounds before claiming he was detained and questioned ahead of his departure. Let me give you if you ever go to Israel, guess what? You're going to be detained and questioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you come into the place and when you leave as well.
Yeah.
They're getting a little tired also of you taking all the rocks of Israel and putting them in your luggage and taking them with you. So,
Well, this
you
is
know,
true too.
but anyway, but yes, you're going into a foreign country, so you're going to be questioned and detained. Ugh. Carlson told the Daily Mail that his passport was confiscated by Israeli officials following the sit down with Huckabee. You do have to show your passport.
Yeah. And they might take it from
And they
you.
might take it from you. Men who identified themselves as airport security took our passports, hauled our executive producer into side room, and then demanded to know what we spoke to Ambassador Huckabee about. Carlson told.
Hauled him.
It was bizarre. We're out of the country, he added. After landing, Carlson had published a picture of himself with his business partner Neil Patel in front of Israeli flags with the caption, "Greetings from Israel." Several people on X pointed out that the picture was taken in the airport's area for private jets. Tucker flew private into the VIP terminal where, yes, they take your passport and do all of the passport control stuff for you, and you can go get a drink at the bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
It says, I know, not this from BC or because I have ever flown private, but because I have interviewed foreign dignitaries there, commented Lahav Harkov, senior political correspondent at the Jewish Insider. The airport authority and the U.S. Embassy strongly denied Carlson's claims of mistreatment, noting that this was standard procedure. Of course.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson and his entourage were not detained, delayed, or interrogated, the Israel Airport Authority said in a statement. Mr. Carlson and his party were politely asked a few routine questions in accordance with standard procedures applied to many travelers. The conversation took place in a separate room within the VIP lounge solely to protect their privacy and to avoid conducting such a discussion in public. No unusual incident occurred, and the Israel Airports Authority firmly rejects any other claims. A spokesman for the U.S. Embassy in Israel affirmed that Carlson received the same passport control questions that countless visitors to Israel, including Ambassador Huckabee and other diplomats, receive as part of normal entrance and exit from Israel, and anybody else who walks in or out of Israel. It is not accurate that Israel was only going to let Tucker into the country for the interview, he added. The only engagement with the embassy had with Israel about his visit was to coordinate his private plane landing as part of facilitating a seamless visit. They were bending over backwards to make things work for Tucker.
Yeah.
It was Tucker who chose to come into the country for a few hours and depart, and Tucker received the same positive treatment of any visitors to Israel. Everyone who comes in and out of Israel, every country for that matter, has passports checked and routinely asked security questions. Even members, ME, or as members of something, ME, even ME going in and out of with diplomatic passport and diplomatic visa. Huckabee later noted on
He going in.
Oh,
Me.
oh, even me.
Yeah.
Oh, they're quoting an X thing here.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, even me. He said going in and out of with diplomatic passport and diplomatic visa. That's what Huckabee posted on X.
Yeah.
Former U.S. Ambassador David Friedman commented, "Too bad Tucker stayed in the airport in the face of so many invitations to see so many wonderful places. A huge and obviously intentional missed opportunity." Ahead of Carlson's visit, Channel 12 had reported that Israeli officials deliberated whether to allow him into the country in light of his consistent and biased attacks against Israel in nearly every one of the interview episodes he published on his X channel. Channel 13 reported that it was decided to allow him to enter to avert a potential diplomatic incident. However, the Daily Mail cited two sources who claimed that Carlson's refusal to leave the airport was caused by Israeli government opposition, leading to negotiations with the State Department that resulted in the airport meeting. Well, I'm sure that Israel called the United States and said, "This is what's happening." And maybe the United States said, "Don't let him in." You know? Melissa Francis, another former Fox News anchor, told the Jerusalem Post on Wednesday that U.S. President Donald Trump himself had been behind the effort to have two of his most prominent supporters meet in a face-to-face interview to turn down the temperature. "Everybody's looking for a way to turn down the temperature," Francis said. "President Trump is telling everyone, including Tucker, let's take this down." So, like I said, they might have called, and President Trump said, "Don't let him in.
Yeah.
Just let him do his interview and get him out of there."
Right. I don't know.
So,
He
anyway,
must be hurting for cash. That's all I know.
well, and that's one of the things one of the reasons I almost forgot why I wanted to cover that. We've got a new phenomenon happening now. It's like we're coming to you right now via the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is now switching more and more over to the internet because that coveted demographic of 18 to 49-year-olds are less and less watching conventional television. They've got their devices in their hands. They're
Right.
getting their news from this. So you are in a sea of competitors. So how are you going to get noticed? Well, you got to get headlines
Yeah.
in across. So how do you do that? You do outrageous things. You
Mhm.
make outrageous statements. That's what's happening now when we see somebody like Jasmine Crockett or all of these people making these
Right.
just
Outlandish claims.
outlandish displays
Right.
in government proceedings because they want that 20 to 30-second soundbite
Soundbite,
that
that's
they
right.
can put on. It's like it gets like millions of views across the internet because that's the competition now. So you're seeing all of this stuff. I mean, I can't imagine now what the election's going to be like because all of these candidates are going to be doing like the guy that was supposed, I don't even know his name, running for some office in Texas. He's going to be on Colbert. And they won't let him play. Oh, CBS, all this controversy going on.
Colbert's still on?
Yeah, he's
I thought
still
they were
on.
canceling him.
Yeah, they're canceling him. I think he
Well,
runs through May. But
He's quite irate about it.
yeah, so they do all of this thing that is going on with all this controversy. Okay, got headlines, got the clicks, got the views, all
Colbert's
this.
thinking about running for president.
Yeah, so they
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I think I heard that too. So, but this guy that would not have gotten any attention if they'd actually played his interview.
Yeah.
Now he's gotten all this money into his campaign because he so-called got canceled
Right.
by the big bad CBS, right? So he gets all this attention. That's what's happening now, folks. I mean, we say this is crazy, and we look around, everything's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. That's because they're wanting clicks and hits and bites
I
and
don't understand how these people would send $2.5 million to a guy without investigating if what he's saying is actually true.
right.
But that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Is that the Democrats, I think, just believe anything that anybody tells them that's a Democrat. It's like, we're not going to check it out. It must be true.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to send you $50 or $100 or
Right. that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, it's got the
Yeah.
Democrat D's. You're on our side. We're going
Yeah.
to support you no matter what.
Yeah. Doesn't matter
Um,
what lie you tell.
No, I mean, I think the people in New York are finding that out now. Their beloved Democrat
Yes.
mayor,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mamdani.
I heard they didn't get the snow picked up.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was picking it up himself with a shovel. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
He was literally out on some back street somewhere, and
Is
he
it?
was shoveling snow himself, digging people out of cars and stuff.
Yeah, and
But
the snow and the garbage mix, and so it's like
yeah,
this horrible.
yeah, it was a
Ugh,
pretty bad smell.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and today it's like, he's not going to raise rent, but he's going to raise the property taxes of
Yeah.
the people who implement the rent,
Right.
and everybody's in an uproar now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's gonna raise taxes.
I think we have a Bible code that says he's going to be impeached. You think there's a possibility?
Can you impeach the mayor of New York?
I think you can.
yeah. I think you can impeach anybody
Yeah.
that's in the office.
Well, if they're going to impeach him, why don't they just recall
They've
him?
tried to impeach Governor Newsom several times.
Hmm.
Haven't been able to get the job done yet.
No,
It's unfortunate, but
yes, but you do mentioning a Bible code. You had brought us. There's a new Bible code. When did
there
this?
is a new Bible code out. Yes, it's on Maduro. And,
Maduro from Venezuela.
from Venezuela. I just want to show you the main aspect or the main part of it here. I'll expand it to where it goes to the entire
Screen.
screen. There we go. And hold on here. I want to run it back so you can see Maduro from Venezuela in Bible code. And believe it or not, God knew about Maduro before the earth was formed.
Before the earth was formed.
That's right. And he wrote it in the scripture. It's coded, so to speak. They call it equal distance letter sequencing. And what it covers is these are the names in the code: Maduro, Celia Flores, which is his spouse, Donald, and Obama. Another Bible code with Obama in it. And the countries in this code are Venezuela, America, Russia, Korea is in there twice, China, and Iran. And all of those countries are very significant right now. Of course, Venezuela was supplying, or Iran was supplying oil to, Venezuela was supplying oil to China.
Yes,
Yeah.
and all of that.
And
yes.
Iran is supplying oil to China, but also to Russia and Korea. So all these countries are major countries that are involved with in the Bible, and so I'll just play it. It's a very short one here. And we can see this one's talking about Catholic, and the Vatican is involved. Of course, that covers a lot of the people that are in that area. They're
It actually says from Venezuela.
from Venezuela, and then it says your abominations. It's talking about Maduro's abominations, and I guess he's done a bunch of them. There's Donald in there.
Well, of course, he's the one that, he actually lost the election, but
America.
it went ahead and maintained power.
Right, he lost the election. There was no question about it. And he's called a despot. Look at all the number of times that God calls him a despot. It's unbelievable. And he's a tyrant and a despot. And he's into narcotics. God has that in here.
Wow.
He's into narcotics. He's into trade of narcotics.
Man.
Yeah. And his dominion. It says here, tribulations. He's detained and arrested by Donald in America.
Hmm.
Yeah. I wonder
It
how
was all
God,
known.
I wonder how God knew that. Yeah.
Wow.
Here's Korea twice. Russia's in here. China, and Iran is also involved in this thing. So here's Iran down here in green. And pretty soon we're going to see Obama pop up. Obama is right in the middle of the whole thing. He's always in the middle of these things for some reason at the end. He's in more Bible codes than any person I've ever seen.
Hmm.
Yeah. And there is Obama. 1, 2, 3 times God mentions him as being involved in this whole situation. And it says, his troops rise up against me. And at the end of days,
Oh,
at the end of days, this happens. Folks, we're getting very close to the end of days. here.
Wow, interesting.
Therefore, thus says the Lord Yahweh, I am against you, and I will execute judgments in your midst, in the sight of the nations, in the sight of the nations. So it's getting serious. This is Maduro's wife, Celia, and in a minute you'll see Flores pop up here on the other side.
Hmm.
And there it is right there. There's Flores.
Wow.
So God knew who his wife was, calls her by name, calls Maduro by name. And that's the end of that Bible code.
Wow.
So I'd highly recommend that you go to YouTube and that you click on, search. And there's a search bar in YouTube and type in 2 words, Bible codes, that's plural, CODES, N period, Z period, which stands for New Zealand, which is where these Bible codes are coming out of. And up will pop 2 little green islands, which is New Zealand. Click on those islands, and all of the Bible codes that this group has done for the last 6 or 7 years will pop up. And I want to always mention one of the ones that occurred 4 years ago, which shows the predictability and how accurate God was. When it was talking about the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, everybody in the world at that time was saying, well, this is only going to take 3 days for Russia to invade Ukraine and wipe them out. But the Bible code said this was going to be a siege.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And indicated it was going to last 3 years.
The Lord said, "Au contraire, mon frere."
Right.
Yes. God was the only one that was correct, folks.
Yes, he was.
So I just want you to know there are some in here that are very predictive, and you will find them very interesting.
Yep.
So again,
That's
that is Bible codes N period Z period, which stands for New Zealand. Click on the 2 green islands and click on videos, and you'll get them all.
there was one that was right before this, and now it's gone out of my brain what it was about.
Erica, there was Erica.
Erica Kirk.
Well,
Erica
yeah,
Kirk.
no, that was another one. It was very
Has 2 witnesses.
Yeah, the 2 witnesses. I think that's the one I
Yeah.
didn't. It's like I'm still like,
Yeah, that's a
Hmm.
little.
Hmm.
I don't understand that one.
No.
Yeah, but Donald Trump and Netanyahu are listed as the 2
Those are
witnesses.
2 new witnesses. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
Very interesting.
Interesting.
Hmm.
We are down to the archaeological story, an archaeological story that I have here. And you can see that.
Looked like Rush when you did that in your formerly nicotine-stained fingers.
Well, I've never smoked cigarettes, so which he did, unfortunately, for Rushbo. But you know that this is the I don't know if you can see that. I've been there, stood by that. That is in the Israel Museum, and if you go to the Israel Museum, you see this. It's built to look like when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls out there, and they found them in the jars. The building is designed to look like
A big jar.
a big jar, and then this big scroll is in there when you go
wow,
inside.
That's neat.
So it's a really cool thing. But the new Dead Sea Scrolls display opens for Israel Museum's 60th anniversary. And so this picture is that's the fragments of the Dead Sea Scroll. It says here, home to the Great Isaiah Scroll, the oldest copy of the book of Isaiah known to man. The Israel Museum in Jerusalem has plans to celebrate its 60th anniversary by putting all 717 centimeters or 23.5 feet of the historic document on display for the first time since 1968. Now it's a very, very old and delicate parchment. Anytime you they won't let you take pictures in there. Anytime you expose anything to light, there's a lot of documents around the edge of that. Like I say, it's like a dome thing with the big scroll deal that you kind of go
Right.
up to. But all around the edge are other fragment documents, and they're in cases in really low light,
Yeah.
so that you can see, so that you can see them, but they not be
When
damaged.
the Dead Sea Scrolls came as an exhibit, a touring the United States,
Hmm.
I went to see them. My
Hmm.
wife and I did,
Hmm.
and they had the same situation.
Hmm.
When you walked into the room, it was almost like you couldn't see anything.
almost
You had
like-
to sort of stand around a little bit till your eyes acclimated to this.
Right.
And then the Dead Sea Scrolls were in, I guess you'd call them cases,
Mhm.
where the light was extremely low.
Right.
And so,
And it says, has been altered and exaggerated over the years. A visit to the Israel Museum will bust that myth. The Dead Sea Scrolls, of which the great Isaiah scroll is just one example, demonstrate that the Bible text we have today has changed very little over more than 2,000 years. It's a nearly identical word for word.
yeah.
Previously, the most ancient copy of the Bible was a Greek translation called the Septuagint. Written on parchment in the 4th century Common Era. The earliest Hebrew version was the Masoretic text from the 10th century. But when the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in 1947 by a shepherd boy in Qumran, they revealed the incredible accuracy of the Jewish scribes who had been copying the Bible texts for generations. The great Isaiah scroll is kept in the Shrine of the Book, a portion of the Israel Museum dedicated specifically to housing the priceless artifact. The scroll is the oldest known manuscript of a complete biblical book, but is not typically displayed in its entirety due to conservation considerations. In the new display, visitors will be permitted 10-minute time slots in order to maintain the conditions necessary to preserve the precious manuscript. The scrolls are believed to have been penned by the Essene community who lived at Qumran near the Dead Sea, not far from Jerusalem. They were a sect of ascetics who sought a life of purity and holiness in the desert. Around half of the scrolls were copies of biblical texts, including parts from every book of the Bible except Esther, with the other half containing their own writings. Some books, such as Deuteronomy, Isaiah, and Psalms, were found in their entirety. The late Eliezer Lipa Sukunik, a renowned Israeli archaeologist and professor at Hebrew University, described his experience of being the first person to study the Isaiah scroll. It was on the evening of November 29th, 1947, and he was poring over the ancient text while listening to the news. My hands shook as I started to unwrap one of them. He wrote in his journal, I read a few sentences. It was beautiful. It was written in beautiful biblical Hebrew. The language was like that of the Psalms, but the text was unknown to me. I looked and looked, and suddenly I had the feeling that I was privileged by destiny to gaze upon a Hebrew scroll which had not been read for more than 2,000 years. While I was examining these precious documents in my study, the late news on the radio announced that the United Nations would be voting on the resolution that night whether or not Israel would be allowed to become a nation. It was past midnight when the voting was announced, and I was engrossed in a particularly absorbing passage in one of the scrolls when my son rushed in with a shout that the vote on the Jewish state had passed. This great event in Jewish history had thus combined in my home in Jerusalem with another event no less historic, the one political and the other cultural. The remarkable timing of the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls put flight to the accusations that the Bible had been a much later work. fabricated to fraudulently claim rights to the land of what was previously considered Palestine. The ancient scrolls were like a title deed to the land and proof of Jewish indigeneity. Is that how they say that?
Indigeneity.
Indigeneity.
I'm not sure what it means, but
The Dead Sea Scrolls made for a symbolic birthday gift for the state still struggling to survive out of utero. The texts are celebrated icons of Israel's heritage, wrote Sheely Neese in her book on the subject, The Copper Scroll Project. The Egyptians have their pyramids and the Chinese have their wall, but the Jews have their scrolls, monuments from words rather than mortar. Appropriately, the book of Isaiah is replete with promises that the people of Israel would return to the land, and it is fitting that the great Isaiah scroll would be displayed with such honor. Who has heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall a land be born in one day? Shall a nation be brought forth in one moment? For as soon as Zion was in labor, she brought forth her children. Shall I bring to the point of birth and not cause to bring forth? Says the Lord. Shall I, who caused to bring forth, shut the womb, says your God? Isaiah 66, 8 through 9. The Israel Museum has sent an invitation encouraging guests to come and see the full scroll and promises visitors a rare opportunity to explore the rich history of this precious artifact. The exhibition will be held in the Bella and Harry Wexner Gallery from February 24th to June 6th. Visitors are required to reserve a time slot for the exhibition, which can be booked when purchasing museum tickets. So now, what's in this, what looks like a giant scroll display, is actually a copy. That's not the actual Isaiah scroll. It's a very, because the actual scroll, that's why they say this is quite an opportunity. I think that they're afraid that it would deteriorate completely. So they actually are now putting the actual Isaiah scroll on display that they're taking. You can go in and see it. And I'm sure it's not going to be in this rotund thing because that's backlit with quite bright light. So you know that that's not a real, that's a reproduction. But I mean, it looks like that.
Right.
And I remember going up to that with Dr. Roy Blizzard, and we went to the portion of Isaiah 53. And you can see in that original scroll where, you're not supposed to touch a scroll. That's why they have the little pointer, so you don't, because it's animal skin. And if you touch it, you can
put your oil.
put your oil and so in that portion of the scroll, you can see where they had gone over and over many times on this Isaiah 53, where there's a portion there which it has been darkened a bit because of where that was gone over several times. So it's very interesting, fascinating, but so I think they had said that the actual scrolls they're way down underground. The other reason for this, this thing, all of this stuff in there can go down underground very quickly because I don't know what they did. I mean, like if they're going to get a threat from Iran, right? They want to protect these things.
protect
So I don't know the extent. They're not going to tell you the extent of what they've got. But anyway, from what I understand, these things can be easily protected because in case of something like that happening, that's the land they live in today. So that's what they have to do. So
a little history on the Essenes. They were a sect that became a sect shortly after the Maccabees claimed Israel from Antiochus Epiphanes IV. So they reclaimed that land, but the thing that happened was the Maccabees ended up having their own progeny. What's the word I'm looking for? They became the high priest. And they were appointed high priests. That's the word I'm looking for. By the Romans later on.
They were illegitimate.
And at that point in time, the Essenes saw that the temple was so corrupt that they moved down to Qumran, set up a colony there, and they took with them a lot of the temple documents.
Mm-hmm.
So, because they were priests themselves in the temple, and so it's sort of like a rebellion against the priests that were at the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we know that the temple priests were very corrupt
Mm-hmm.
from what we see in the New Testament,
Right.
and that and Annas, who was the high priest in 16 A.D.,
Mm-hmm.
his sons and son-in-law took over after him, and they formed a bazaar of. They formed a business of selling temple sacrifices, which became known to the people of Israel as the Bazaar of the Sons of Annas.
Mm.
Very corrupt.
Mm.
And Jesus, of course, threw out the temple sacrifices and the money changers because he claimed that they were, abusing the temple.
They
And,
made it a den of thieves, huh?
Yes, the den of thieves. And
Instead
he
of a
cast
place of
them out,
prayer.
ran
Mhm.
them out of there. My house is to be a house of prayer. So that fact that the Essenes moved to Qumran and the fact that the Bible in the New Testament confirms the fact that the rabbis were corrupt.
Mhm.
And then that proceeds even further, that when the temple was destroyed in 70 AD, about 85 in Yavne, the Sadducees totally disappeared off the scene after 70 AD. But the Pharisees reconvened in Yavne about 85 to 90, right in there, and they reconstituted Rabbinic Judaism as it is today. In other words, how are we going to keep the control of these Jews while we don't have sacrifices anymore?
Mhm.
And what they came up with was alms and prayer.
Mhm.
And of course, that does not go with God's program at all.
No.
Your sins are only forgiven by blood,
Right.
and that's it. God never changed his program.
Nope.
It's just that the corrupt rabbis changed the program.
Mhm.
And so all the Jews today are all following a corrupt system that was reinstituted and reborn back in 85 AD.
Wow.
So
Well,
interesting.
yep. Well, they're talking about the Christian community. There's a groundswell of Jewish believers of Yeshua in Israel. They're
That's
faced
right.
quite a bit of persecution,
That's right.
but they're there and they are growing. So, and they will be part. Those who are of the remnant. I mean, there's going to be that was one of the things that Amir was talking about. I don't know if I wrote all that down, but he was talking about the three reasons about in this end time when in other words, United States is not mentioned in Bible prophecy.
Right.
And he was surmising why would that be? And he came up with the thought of saying that he thinks of these reasons the most logical would be that when the rapture happens, the one country that's probably going to lose the most people is going to be the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, even if you lost, I mean, you would maybe lose more. Let's just say that like 10% of the United States goes in the rapture. That's a huge number of
Oh,
people.
yeah.
And that's
30
going
million.
to rock things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, just like he said, if you think what happened that rocked the United States and the downfall of the United States when COVID hit, think about if 30 million people are gone.
Right.
And he said that may be why they can't come to the rescue of Israel.
I should say most, I don't know that most is the correct word, but a lot of the cabinet members are Christians.
Mhm.
That's right. That Trump has appointed.
So if you have a mass exodus of
Yeah.
people, boom, gone,
Yeah, movers and the shakers.
those known and unknown lifted out of there, then you're going to have quite a bit of chaos in the society.
One
Yep.
more thing I'd like to say about that. There's some proof that John the Baptist was in the scene,
Hmm.
Mhm.
that he was actually the leader of the group.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so there's
And there
some
was
evidence.
there was somebody saying that they thought that possibly Paul went
Yes,
and studied with them because they said of that one verse that talks about him in Damascus, and
Yeah.
then he went to,
right.
and it's like, well, wait a minute, if he was in Damascus, he'd already be there, but he
He went
wasn't.
to Syria.
He went to
It's
see,
in the book of Galatians.
yeah, he's they said, why
How
would
can he
he?
go to Damascus
Yes.
and then say, well, later he
He
went
went
to
to
Syria?
Syria.
Yeah. Well,
So
the answer to that is that the Essenes group was also called Little Damascus.
little Damascus.
Yeah.
And so they think that that was an evidence that he was
Yeah.
was with them as well. So it's interesting, all these
Yeah.
things that we have. So we bring all of these things to you, much to pray about. Prayers, especially for President Donald Trump at this time, because much would be there to try to deceive him.
Right.
He needs clear guidance from the Holy Spirit to know exactly what the next move
He needs
is.
wisdom.
He needs wisdom.
Yeah.
And he needs guidance.
Right.
And so this is what we have to put in prayer. We're in the, I mean, we are just really in these end time events here. I believe that
It's
it's
interesting that that Solomon prayed for wisdom.
yes.
Yeah.
Of
So
all the things that he could have asked for, he
Right.
asked for wisdom.
wisdom.
And
And God
God-
was pleased with that.
God was so pleased with it that he not only gave him wisdom, he gave him riches too.
Hmm. Right.
Because if you got wisdom, you know how to handle riches.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, I know that Mark Biltz is not a fan of Solomon. So
Yeah.
those riches that he got, he now a lot of people, they look at the book of Ecclesiastes as something like as a downer, but I think it's actually a brilliant book that they ascribe to Solomon,
Mhm.
because it's absolutely, at the time, Solomon was bigger than Elvis, right? I mean, he had the whole world at his feet,
God said he would be the wisest person that's ever lived.
and the wisest person that's ever lived.
Yeah.
He had I mean, they talk about, we talk about how much Donald Trump likes gold. He would totally have been impressed with Solomon because evidently they said everything was gold. And so,
The
and it
entire inside of the temple was coated
was
with gold.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So when you have somebody like that turn around and he talks about everything is vanity. And I mean, I consider it quite a brilliant writing, because it's like he had everything and it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It didn't fulfill. He had he could do anything he wanted. He could have anything he wanted. He could have any woman he wanted. He could have any number of animals that he wanted. He could have anything in the world. He did it. He tried it. He built it. Everything. Nothing satisfied him. And I think that's the brilliance of the book of Ecclesiastes. If you want wisdom, read what this one man who had everything,
Yeah.
everything that everybody thinks that they want, he had.
Right.
And yet it was vanity, right?
Mhm.
And so I think it's quite an amazing writing. And he made some very bad decisions eventually.
His
One of the
worst decision was to have 1,000 women around him
right.
that all worship different gods.
well, they
that
said
was the worst decision.
this one woman was
Yeah.
she worshipped Molech. So
Yeah.
one of, I don't know if it was the absolute first son of Solomon or one of his sons would have been sacrificed to Molech.
Yeah.
Because this woman, that was her worship. So he thought he was doing all this for alliances, right, and all of these sorts of things. I mean, Israel was at peace at the time with Solomon,
Yeah.
but he was allowing and doing very terrible things. And that's one of the things, I mean, Mark Biltz thinks that um, Solomon was an example of the Antichrist.
It's interesting. I've been
So-
reading Samuel here lately, which covers a lot of this information.
Mhm.
And God said that because of all of the grievances that the 1,000 women had caused him, he was going to remove the kingdom, not from him, but from his son,
Mhm.
which he did.
He did.
Mhm.
And
Well-
his next son, Rehoboam, he took the kingdom and gave him the 11 northern tribes, and then they had the 2 southern tribes. I'm sorry, the 10 northern tribes and the 2 southern tribes, and that ended up they became so corrupted that eventually they were hauled off into captivity.
Right.
And that whole 10 tribes just
Well, it's interesting
Yeah.
because in the line of the Messiah, Yeshua had to be a son of David,
right.
but he was not a descendant of Solomon.
No, he was the son of Nathan.
Right. Had to bypass all of that business because he would not come from Solomon. So,
Yeah.
but interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
interesting on the
Well, that's
history of
I
all
have
of
to
that.
say about that.
Yeah.
Bonnie chimes in and says, "Great to see Richard back."
Yay. that's-
Shalom, y'all.
Yeah.
Cheers to Bonnie.
Yeah. Yeah. It is good. And yeah, I mean, I was quite surprised when I walked in.
Yeah.
And here he was.
Yep.
And so
Somebody rapped on the door about 5 minutes before the show was to start, and I was like, "No."
Yeah. Well, thanks for your prayers, Bonnie.
yes.
And thanks for everybody else's prayers. We
Yes.
need them.
And we do. We need him in these times. So pray for our president. Pray for what's going on
Amen.
in the world. Pray for the peace of Israel,
Right.
particularly now in all of this. And pray for wisdom, leadership. I keep saying we have to be in tune to the Holy Spirit to know what to do. So we're gonna keep going on this Ezekiel 38 and 39. I'll try to do a little bit better as we go, maybe even into next week. But I think we are sitting on the cusp of that. If it's not exactly that, we are very close to
This
seeing
could lead into it.
could
very
lead
easily.
into it very easily. So
I think the Iran situation is actually the ball of wax that's going to cause everybody to get stuck to it.
right.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
it's going to bring about the Ezekiel 38.
And maybe
war.
they'll get a Bible code about it or two here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anybody's listening from the Bible code people, I doubt it. But if they are, is Marco Rubio mentioned anywhere? I'd like him to search.
No, we'd like to see one on Marco Rubio.
I'd like to see one on him, see if
Yeah.
he's in there. So if you want to keep this program coming your way, Jim will tell you how.
If you'd like to make a donation, you can send it to Truth in Life Today, 1301 Enterprise Way, Suite 63, Marion, Illinois, 62959. That's Truth in Life Today, 1301 Enterprise Way, Suite 63, Marion, Illinois, 62959. And in your envelope, stick a little note in there and tell us how you'd like your donation to be used.
And tomorrow evening, same time, 7 p.m. Central Time, Shabbat. We will be having Shabbat service. We'll see if Brother Vern makes it back. He's been dealing with things this week. So hopefully next week we'll be back for Hebrew class, right? So that's what we're hoping. So keep all of that in your prayers. Keep everybody in prayers. We pray for you. You pray for us. And take that authority of the 10 yards around you. And, as we say, we'll be here same time, same place, Lord willing, right?
Lord willing, we'll see you next week.
Next week. So shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Shalom.